Welcome, everyone. I'm Emma Wharton Love, co-founder at Spark AI, and I'm chairing today's discussion with Kate and Luke. At Spark AI, we run AI training and business transformation programs for creative teams. And we show agency and brand leaders how to develop strategies rooted in commercial value, in creativity, and in control, which are all topics that we're going to really touch on today. This year, we work with more than 40 agencies, and what we really see is that agencies getting the most value out of AI are the ones that root their AI strategy in what they already stand for as an agency, and then build in AI to support that unique positioning. And that's exactly what our two guests today have done with their agencies, and why I wanted to hold this webinar. So today's session is called Why Distinctiveness is Your Survival Strategy for the AI Era. And I'd love to welcome Kate Ross, Group MD of eight&four. They're a social agency which leads social strategy and content for global brands such as Sandals, Hyundai, and HSBC. And eight&four have been really vocal and deliberate about how they're integrating AI, from clarity around shortcomings to the build of their own AI-powered agency platform called Platform 12. Thanks so much for being here, Kate.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Emma.
And then I welcome Luke. Luke Taylor is co-founder and creative partner at United Us, an internationally recognized Brighton-based brand agency working with clients like Lego and Google. Luke's built a culture that embraces technology without losing sight of creativity and, importantly, commerciality as well. And there's an advocate for positive disruption. Welcome, Luke. Thanks so much for being here.
That's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
As I said, I've invited Kate and Luke because they both really stand out in how they've taken a clear, very intentional stance in how how their agencies have shown up in the AI era. And I think that there's so much we can all learn from all of that. So this will be a 45-minute discussion. Please use the comments to add your questions, and those will pop up for us. We'll either answer them as we go if they're on topic, or we'll save them to the end. So shall we jump in? So to kick off, I don't know who to go for first, but I want to talk about how do you think the rise of AI in the last few years has changed what it takes to be distinctive or to differentiate yourself as an agency? Has it impacted that at all?
I think it certainly has. I think it's been quite astounding, actually, from a personal perspective. And as agency leaders, obviously, we spend a lot of time looking at CredsDex, our own and other agencies. And it was fascinating in the last 2-3 years when you think about certainly some the big networks, the big guys that we're up against, the flip of creds from even just 3 years ago to be saying we are the most creative people that you will be able to work with in this space. And literally 2 years ago, so it's short 12 months, and it's like we're the most technical people you can possibly work with in the space. So that flip from a positioning perspective from agencies, which is bringing technology front and center to CredsDex positionings, differentiation, has been seismic. Not all completely well-founded either, but it's been fascinating, that sort of rush towards talking about technical expertise, specifically around the Gen AI capabilities. So yeah, I think that's been enormous for the industry. When you think the industry has really been built, since there was the first agencies, 1880s or something, JWT in New York. It's all been about creativity. And then technology obviously crept in 20 years ago with the rise of the internet, and then now is front and center. So yeah, I think that's a huge whirlwind of change for the agency landscape.
It is huge. It's really interesting what that does for what we for what we call ourselves and how we think about ourselves as creatives or technologists. Yeah. Luke, what do you think?
Yeah, I think just fascinated listening to Kate already on that. I think from our side in the world of particularly very closely aligned into branding, I've seen less distinctiveness, less of a challenge in AI. From our perspective, distinctiveness and the people we're up against is still very much human-led. It's still very much what you're delivering and how you're delivering it for an organization. We're very much in the world of relationships. We build very, very close relationships with organizations to understand their brands. And therefore, I think AI is playing less of a forefront conversation in that buying process than maybe, other parts of the creative sector, the ad world or things like that, where, creds have been around. We're this creative and now it is. we're really creative with, that was really loud on my headphones. You know, it's moved to the technology conversation. In the branding world, I feel less so.
Yeah.
Not that clients aren't interested in it, like they very much are. They, you know, probably 18 months ago, there wasn't really a conversation around what's your AI policy, how are you using AI. That didn't happen 18 months ago. We were kind of leading that conversation. Now there's a flip. Like clients are, who are we buying, what are we buying, what's your AI policy? You know, they are front and center of those conversations. So it does make a big difference. But I think to the question of, you know, distinctiveness in the branding space, AI doesn't play such a big role in distinctiveness from an agency perspective, not yet anyway. And I think that's partly because there's real positives, which we'll obviously get into with AI, but obviously some of the negatives of AI is what we were already seeing through the creative sector of homogeny. The more and more technology, the more and more homogeny, the less and less distinctive people become. And that's one of the challenges of AI that, you know, we can jump into to this conversation.
And I think what's interesting, you pick up there, that clients just recently started to talk about it. We've seen that as well. So we started talking about this stuff as it came out the gate, and we weren't into this pre 3.5 dropping, right? 3.5 drop, we're like, oh my God, we need a point of view on this really, really quickly, because this is extinction level of threat, isn't it? Potentially to the industry. We've been talking to clients about it for two and a half years now. And it's only in the last 3 to 4 months, we've seen clients proactively approaching us, like you say, Luke, saying, I need a partly engineered AI solution to this, as opposed to what the briefs have been forever. I need this, and these are the outputs, whatever. Actually bringing AI and requests for AI into those specific briefs themselves. So it has been from again, talking about distinction, I think the industry in some ways moves so quickly. I think it moved much faster than clients did. And I think, and that's why I earlier said, not particularly well founded. I think people came out so strongly with the technical response within months of 3.5 dropping. And actually clients weren't ready for it. And a lot of clients still aren't ready for it. And actually a lot of them have there's more questioning going on. And there's more, actually, is this right? Ethics, legalities. There's lots more sort of like sophisticated questioning coming in, like you're saying, Luke, about AI policies. Like, what is your AI policy? And so I think that distinctiveness, I think everyone rushed into it. I think clients weren't ready. We certainly went in really hard with it because it felt like a really interesting differentiation piece for us, because we got we'd moved so quickly with it. And we had feedback from clients going, so does AI do all your work? And we're like, oh my God, no. Oh my God, is that what it's coming across? Do you know what I mean? We went too far. So we've actually had to now bring it back. And we now talk about being led by talent, fueled by technology. And technology is like a fuel. There's productivity gains at task level, but this is all being led by people. To your point, Luke, oh my God, the homogeny, the mediocrity, the averageness of, what Gen AI creates on a day-to-day level, has to be more importantly guarded against than ever before, because we have just lowered the bar massively for who can create content, and we are now drowning in it, as we all know.
That race to the bottom feels very dangerous. And do you think it's I was going to ask if it's really easy to kind of go down that homogeny route, I guess, at the moment, because of what the technology is presenting. And do you think talking about differentiating as being technology led is dangerous in itself? And you talked about how people have rushed into that perhaps last year. Is that one form of homogeny, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I think the big six, they all sound the same. Do you know what I mean? All of a sudden. I do. Sorry, Luke.
No, I was just going to say, I agree. Like, I think this has always been the case, right? Like, I think with anything in the AI world, there's like a lens of this is all a completely new challenge, when it isn't. There's always been the same challenges of distinctiveness, technology advancements since, like you said, 1880. Like, it's always been, how do you find the next ace in the pack? And obviously AI for a lot of organizations is the next version of that. The difference is, for me, that the rate of change and the rate of pace that organizations have got involved. Previously technology was kind of seen as, okay, yes, it's gonna make a change, but we're going to take our time with it. It's not going to be that much. Organizations, the big players, had kind of held on to their traditional models. This is the first time that they've gone, actually, do you know what? This is seismic, and we're going to put a lot of eggs into this basket from the get-go. We're not going to wait. we're going to put a lot of effort into it. And we're seeing that growth through, AI use is exponential. I was just reading a really fascinating report that came out a couple of days ago, which was just talking about AI use from a commercial perspective. As a branding agency, we're really interested in commercial growth with what we're doing as an organization. And unlike ever before, obviously CEOs, CTOs, CFOs, they're all interested in AI. Before it was like, oh, well, what technologies? We don't really care. Everyone cares about the technology now, and they're all willing to put their eggs in the basket. I was reading some like mad stat that ChatGPT has like 800 million users, which took Google 10 years. Yeah. They got there in like 18 months. Yeah. Like the rate of adoption is just insane, and therefore there's so much more competition in the market for people to say, well, we're in this space, when half the time they're really not. Yeah. Or they're kind of looking at it, or they're just saying the word technology. Yeah. I kind of think back to when I started the agency with 13, 14 years ago. Everyone wanted to talk about cloud all the time, and no one knew what cloud was. We're in the same space now where everyone wants to just throw AI on everything, but no one really knows what it is or why they're doing it. Or at worst, you're having people being called out for actually they've got developers in other countries who are in the back end doing stuff. It's not AI.
No, but I guess like everywhere, the amount of platforms, and they are attracting multi-million pound funding, and it's literally people tagging stuff manually in Africa, and it's like what? Oh, yeah, we come up against suppliers, and you sort of challenge. You're like, that's actually not AI though. You are aware of that, right? And they're like, yeah, I guess it's technically not. Is it? I'm like, no. So my current favorite anecdote around this is my washing machine has an AI label on it. There's no AI going on, and apparently it's because it knows how long to dry my clothes for, and I put it on tumble dry. And it's like, no, you don't. That's not AI. You're weighing it. You're weighing the load. That's not AI. That's something that a woman could understand in terms of engineering. Do you know what I mean? Like, weight equals, how long you need to dry it for. Yeah, completely. I think the technology homogeny, but I also think it's really, really dangerous, because I think a lot of the majority actually of the AI narrative is being driven by VC funding. I saw a crazy stat the other day, something like 80% of everything you see online in terms of news and narrative has been funded by an AI firm, by a VC firm, etc. And so if you drink the Kool-Aid and go, yes, we're a technology firm, then what you're playing into is like, right, so we don't need you. The end game of that is, okay, so we don't need humans anymore. So we just need to understand the technology and we get rid of people. So you literally you're lessening human value within your organization and its importance in delivering value and whatever services you're offering. So I think it's a really difficult piece from a positioning perspective, I think, for an agency, because to not speak about it, to not engage with it, makes you look out of touch. And nowadays, I'd say, made up stat, I'd say maybe like 60-70% it feels like of an agency's job is just keeping your clients ahead. Like that's because that's their biggest fear, is like, I do not understand what is happening because the pace of change is so rapid. Channels, what the hell is happening in channels? How is it progressing? Formats, how are they changing? How is user behavior changing? Do you know what I mean? Thinking about sort of media landscapes, that's what an agency's job is. And actually the day-to-day servicing of that is slightly less important. A lot of that offers is now in-house by clients anyway. This is all about being ahead and keeping them ahead and keeping their jobs, so their bosses don't say you're out of touch, you're out. So you have to talk about technology, but at the same time, you have to make sure you guard and defend human value within this space. When Altman and all the like of that are Zuckerberg, obviously just a few weeks ago, saying his plan is for Meta is they're going to see an advertising paradigm shift and they're going to automate it all, and it makes you want to claw your eyes out, because you're saying that because it's going to make you money. You have no understanding how advertising and marketing works. We increase desire around brands, build awareness around brands, drive product purchases, etc. It is so complicated, and it is not about your AI bloody created image on Meta, hyper personalized to 15 million people, which is not necessary, by the way. Hyper personalization needs to die a death really quickly. Again, another completely hype driven vehicle to sell stuff. More stuff, more assets, content fatigue. Oh my God, I've had content fatigue one more time to shoot myself. I'm like, some of the greatest advertisements of all time, been around for decades, and they still work. Like completely made up by bloody networks trying to sell their media inventory. Anyway, so I think it's a really, really difficult balance for agencies from a positioning perspective and how we speak about technology. When so many people are out for us, right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, so much of it is being driven by investment that is driving these quite dangerous messages.
Yeah.
There is so much sort of snake oil around at the moment, isn't there? And I think that really underlines, I guess, the reason for this conversation is like the importance of differentiating, like based on your roots as well, not getting caught up in that kind of all about AI personalization, leading that from the front necessarily. But I think what also came up for me when you were both just talking is like the opportunity for agencies as well, like to lead on this with their clients as an advisory role, and in terms of like higher value work, but also an opportunity to kind of go up the food chain, because these, unlike cloud, like which would have been talked about at boards occasionally, but AI must comes up in every conversation. So I think the fact that we're 6 months, a year ahead of where many of our clients are in experience on this is a real bonus.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think there is there's a risk there though. Like we work with our clients really closely at a C-suite level, so we're advising and consulting, but we have to be really careful not to overstep the line of where we should and shouldn't be offering advice and guidance. AI touches so many things and can be so powerful in people's businesses that they are specialism skills, like and we need to be careful as a creative industry not to go, well, actually we know everything about AI, just suddenly start listening to us, because some of our clients are huge financial organizations. We're not touching anywhere near that, and rightly so. And I think there's a perception that just because AI does a lot of things doesn't mean that you have the context or the background knowledge to get into those businesses at that level. We need to stick in our lane, for the want of a better term, and offer where AI is more powerful. As agency owners, I'm sure, Kate, you're the same. We've had to spend a long time over the last 2 years or so really understanding where AI fits into our business practices and our business model and how we want to work and where we want it to work and where we don't want it to work. And that's a conversation that has taken a lot of picking of our own business and unpicking of our own business to go, actually, there's efficiency and benefit here, or there's actually no benefit here. This is just risk. And AI has the power to be really powerful, to help us with our business, but also it isn't our business. We are not suddenly an AI business. We're a human-led creative organization that is utilizing another tool set. We've used Adobe, Figma. AI is just another tool in our arsenal, and how we deploy that is the most important thing. How strategically you choose to put it into your business, because there's so many, as we just talked about, there's so much snake oil, there's so many tools. Every website you go on says we can essentially run your business from home. Like, it's like, but I don't want you to do that, because that's not of benefit to me. I want to focus on the small details or the refinements. AI isn't going to, if your business isn't working and your agency isn't working, AI will not fix it. You have to have made sure that your business runs efficiently, and then find ways to make more efficiency savings or more value adds to client, like Kate was saying. Where are you using AI to add to a client's value in what you're doing? And that's not a value conversation of, well, now that thing's done by AI, we should charge less. It's a conversation of, we're actually giving you above and beyond what you wanted from us, because we are progressively moving forward with new technology. So from a C-suite perspective, we do have those conversations a lot, but we are also very careful to be like, we are not doing, suddenly going over there into production supply chain stuff. Like, don't get dragged over there. People do tend to do that. They want that because they're like, well, about technology. It's like, to a degree. But
no. I agree, Emma. The ability, we've done a presentation at a team level, and it's gone to the president of the company within 24 hours. I have never had a PowerPoint be shared within 24 hours to a president of a global company. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the doors that it has opened, our confidence around, to your point as well, Luke, Gen AI in the marketing space and what it is good and what it's not good for, has been fascinating, actually, and a roller coaster as well, because like Gen AI, it is trying to unpick the utility from the novelty of it. It's extraordinarily difficult. The novelty is overwhelming, has been since it became mainstream. Trying to find utility is really, really difficult for it. That's where the real hard work begins. So conversely as well, we get a lot of access to a lot of senior people to talk about things. And we have, I'm making this up. I've been in boardrooms and people have been clapping. It's crazy. The novelty, the excitement, the the sort of relief, I think, that, oh my God, I've got someone with a strong POV here, so I can feel a bit less scared of this, or whatever it is. That, getting from that to actually here is a built-in solution for your company is extraordinarily wrong road. And that has been a really, again, a very strange 2.5 years. A lot of talking, very, very little buying, very, very little doing. And I think some ways that's been sometimes that's been really frustrating, because I feel like people have lost advantage. There was some really, really nice early mover advantages from a creative perspective in that first year when it dropped. A lot of those have been missed. And now looking at a lot of it, I mean, because obviously, everyone's obsessed with agentic AIs, the sort of the current sort of thing. There needs to be serious hesitation around that stuff, because actually most agentic AI that people talk about is just task-based scripts just linked together. It is not agentic. It has no consciousness, for God's sakes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also unleashing that stuff onto your business. And again, this gets out of my wheelhouse from a sort of, to your point, Luke, from a sort of, a day-to-day running operations of a company. So that's not us. We're marketing, advertising. But letting this sort of technology loose with the hallucination rates, with the lack of its inability to create itself, to correct itself, fact check itself, etc., to make up sources, etc. The dangers are profligate. So I'm glad now also that clients are being a bit more cautious, and I see that caution coming through the narrative as well. It's rising, the caution now after all the snake oil. It is starting. There seems to be a bit more of like, whoa, yeah, there are some good bits here, guys, but can we calm down? And be a bit more careful and thinking about this. And a lot of this, it's just going to wipe out entire people's jobs. Like, well, probably not. It's actually going to it may automate some tasks within someone's role. It cannot replace a human. Like an AI cannot do what I do. Like it can't. It's not a sentient being. It has no understanding the complexity of, God, for one second, it can't sit and have a meeting with someone. Do you know what I mean? As in like a face-to-face meeting. We all know the most important things happen sitting, talking face to face. They've been, since the beginning of human history. Like it's not that. So
yeah, I agree. I think, it's an augmentation, of tool, and as I say, it is a tool. I think it's not going to lose people's jobs. I think what it is going to do is lower the barrier to entry for competition around the world. Like we're seeing that already in user numbers, and where Europe is actually quite low on its AI adoption in comparison to other continents. I think we're sort of like third or fourth from the bottom on adoption. And all that tells me is there's other countries, other markets who are looking at this opportunity and going, we can steal a march into the market that we didn't have, and access that we didn't have, and opportunities that we didn't have. And rightly so. They're taking that next technology wave and driving forward with it. And that's where, as a Brighton-based agency, we work globally with lots of clients, spend a lot of time around the world with them, but we don't have a footprint in those countries. And how much do people going to care about that longer term? This is a really interesting one. Or are networked agencies going to take over again because they're going to be like hyper little mobile businesses in all these countries? Which
that was the whole play, wasn't it? With that sort of technology play they made a couple of years ago, which was fascinating to watch, was basically the whole sort of setup of network would be basically a technical platform that you would then stick an account manager on top of, and they would suddenly be happy running 100 grand fee income contracts a year, which obviously networks normally don't touch. And we saw that 2 years ago. All the networks started coming fishing much further down in terms of pitch lists and everything, and we're like, what is going on? Like, why are they pitching for this? And that's all gone now. They've gone right back up because actually it's not possible to automate it, like, this sort of grand vision they had.
Yeah.
Gen AI will raise the floor, it will not raise the ceiling. So I think we're probably both relatively well protected, Luke. We don't work in a volume model either. We have, small amount of very large global clients, very, very complex sort of facilitation, stakeholder sort of engagement requirements. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, I can write this copy for you really quickly for this social post. It's like, it's not that. It's editorial programming. It's, do you know what I mean? It's big, it's complex, it's meaty. And Gen AI can't touch that. The bottom end of the market, if you're in a more of a volume game, and you are working with smaller clients, it will enable access much quicker for a lot less cost for smaller businesses. And as you say, other markets like, smaller socioeconomic sort of markets, probably, I don't think it's coming for that bit. I think it comes for this bit, and it democratizes access to that space. which then creates new challenges within, to go back to our earlier thing we were discussing about, in terms of content overwhelm. Because actually, if you've got so many people advertising now, right back to how do you stay distinctive when when it's so, and obviously this is Zuckerberg's play really with the meta advertising paradigm stuff, is he just wants a small advertiser. He wants that long tail of these micro businesses to suddenly be able to spend a lot more money with him.
Exactly. And I think that's where, Luke, you talked about that, the approach that you took at United Us of looking at your opportunities and risks to different services and processes and that kind of thing. And like that's totally what we do in our programs as well. Like we have really structured approach of looking at what could be automated, what could be augmented, as you said, and how we can innovate and add value. What can we do more of? And opportunities and risks across all of those things. And so I completely lost my train of thought. It's gone entirely. I had a really good question there. But I'd love to bring it back just to like your individual agencies and like understand, like, I guess building on that, like the processes that you went through to like, have you, as a result of like really looking at your positioning in the world with AI, have you shifted your positions? I think Kate, you talked at the beginning about how you tweaked it and you tweaked it back again.
Yeah.
Have you both done that?
I think because we were so excited by what we were developing. So where we got to with it was that off-the-shelf technology from a GenAI perspective wasn't fit for purpose in a commercial setting. It wasn't secure enough and it wasn't specific enough. And obviously commercial environments need specificity and they need security almost ahead of everything else. So we started building our own products and we built them based on client requirement. So our first tool we built was Coach, which is image generation tool, digital twin technology, very commonplace now. We built that 2 years ago. And we built that for Hyundai, and it's fantastic. We could just suddenly put their cars, which it sounds so old hat now, but at the time was amazing. You could put their cars anywhere you wanted around the world. It was brilliant. We were sticking on this. They sponsored the Scottish Open, so we parked a GV70 right on the end green, and it became the image for the entire event. It was amazing, and it was, those things you're like, this is brilliant. How cool. Obviously,
real light bulb moment.
Using their shit, they're like, has someone parked a car on the green? I was like, oh, promise. So that was really exciting. And then we built Scholar, which is our copy product for HSBC. And so we've been very specifically working with client requirements, building tools, and then we needed to house the tools everywhere. So we built Platform 12, which is our sort of client agency interface, and that covers image generation, copy. That's typically where we feel GenAI works really well from a copy perspective, is typically summation and digesting summation and then format changes. So really, really useful for that. So we work with like global content teams who are like, we really need this in 9 languages and we need it for 54 territories. And I need you to get it all from this white paper that's just been released in Hong Kong. Can you do it? Yes, we can with this tool, rather than the sort of the human energy needed to digest all that data. And
so that's all the, that's all the kind of added value innovation side of things. You really focus there, and I think that's quite
requirement rather. And this is where we can differentiate as agencies, because we actually understand clients and what they need and what the complexity of their role in engaging with us is. Marketing is not, and again, Altman and Zuckerberg, they all make you think that marketing is creating an asset for Facebook, and are you having a laugh? That is literally the easiest bit right at the end. That's not what marketing and advertising about. Do you know what I mean? It's very, very complex. It's stakeholder engagement, etc. Blah, blah. So yes, we started there, and then Platform 12, which now houses everything, which is fantastic, and it's been a fantastic tool. And clients absolutely love it. And actually, really excitingly, we've just had our first big reporting product signed up. So we've actually cancelled all our software licenses now from a reporting, social listening perspective, and built our own. And AI has been great for that, because it's enabled, because that digested summation, sentiment analysis, all these things that typically you had to pay big software companies, lots of license money to do. You can now build these things yourself. So that's been phenomenal. And then that allows you to create bespoke tools for clients, get all that flexibility in. Those different reports they need, the different views that stakeholders need, that any off-the-shelf product is just never going to give you. So that's been the big unlocks for us, is data summation, data presentation has been phenomenal. And where resource is tight inside a client, and they need more of it, then that's been brilliant. So whether it be, we only have $100,000 for a photo shoot. Okay, but we need X amount of images. Well, we can now do that, because we can just do a 5-day photo shoot, for example, and then we can use Coach, our image generation, video generation tool, to then expand those assets right out. So There's some brilliant use cases for it. It's really exciting, but it is
exciting. But it's really, what's really interesting there is like a lot of people just associate AI with efficiency, and you've gone for added value, but you've made efficiencies in other ways in terms of your subscription costs and
totally.
so it's that's so. Have you had to, before I come back to you, Luke, Kate, have you changed your kind of resourcing model internally to be able to build these tools? Or
no, the best thing, again, because Gen AI is so democratic, it's so accessible. We literally had an all agency as it hit. We were just talking about it, and then we basically put in place some AI hack days, and literally, right, everyone, whole agency, go and hire out big sort of theatre, and we will all just play with it. And from there emerged people going, I'm really interested in this. I love this. Oh, we're quite technical anyway. We've a lot of motion, CGI people. So there's a lot of technical brains in the building. And people were literally just hands up, like, can I have a go at making one of those? And that's what they did. So everything is homegrown.
But you gave people the time to do it, I guess.
Yeah, well, very importantly, absolutely. And that quickly became apparent, the people who wanted to do it. So we then carved that time for them to do it. And our head of creative technology now, Sam, he was a designer at the time, and now he's our head of creative technology because he ran with that and has been the architect of most of our technical solutions. So
amazing. So there is something there about slight roles evolving, I guess, because of AI as well.
For sure, definitely.
Luke, I'd love to hear about your journey at United Earth a bit more, about how have you shifted your positioning, or not at all, or is it all behind the scenes?
Yeah, it's all behind the scenes. I mean, all that stuff Kate was talking about all sounds amazing. I think we're on a slightly different end of the I suppose the client engagement side. For us, like, we're utilizing it in the back of our systems to make us more efficient, to be more robust. But we're talking a lot with our clients from a brand perspective around how they can utilize AI tools with our guidance, so that we can build much stronger brands for them over a longer period of time, how they can have more ownership of their brand. Obviously, one of the great things, if you are working with a advertising and marketing firm, it's great. Obviously, you should have a brand in place that you're able to brief and go, right, these are the metrics I want to do. When you're doing a brand, obviously that has to be run through an entire business. It's not held by one or two people controlling that project. It's every person in that business needs to understand the refinements, what they're doing, how you talk, how you look, how you stand. And that requires a lot of, traditionally, education, onboarding, guidance, us working with that team and that business and that CEO to go, okay, we now talk like this. This is what we say. This is how we look. AI gives us and our clients much more robust structures to do that. So we're working with them on lots of software that they can then roll out elements within their brand, which are not classed as marketing, but they're all the things that an organization needs to do really well to actually grow. So it's things like presentations, it's their emails, it's all the stuff that creative. It's not normally classed as like, oh, creative, but it's actually the part where people build their brand day to day. How do we come across? And if you're a global firm like some of the ones that we're working with, or a small individual, you can't get away with now sending documents that look crap. Yeah, because there's too many tools to support you to not do that. But yet, someone's role might be an analyst, or they've got no interest in design, and also importantly, they have no visual eye. Like, that's one of the things that we could do a whole AI conversation on is AI doesn't make you a good designer if you don't know what good design is. Like, you see awful creative everywhere that's generated by AI. And for some people, they're happy with that because they're like, well, it's done. But if you want to set a standard and you want to progress and you want to be a leading brand, that takes a lot of control and refinement. Now, obviously, people like WPP are trying to suggest that their Coca-Cola model will do that. But really, in the back end, they've got designers tweaking and looking and controlling. And because aesthetics evolve as well, it's not living, and AI is taking influence from the world around it and the world that's gone. That is, when you're a trend orientated business, you want to look at the future. They're only using the past to enable the future. Obviously, as a creative person, you can go, actually, we're pushing the boundaries. And I think that's often where this sort of misnomer with AI comes up of, it's pushing the boundaries. No, it's enabling people to push boundaries. Creative people, like I think Kate mentioned there that was it Sam you said, who's head of technology? Like, they're the kind of things that I love, is when you hear a creative has moved into that, because the creative is pushing the boundary with technology. That's the way it should be. We've got the same in our business. Designers are taking more and more ownership of the creation of the tools, because they go, well, this is what I want it to see. This is how I want it to impart its knowledge. But from a brand perspective, employees, in their business, they're not focused on that, but they're also not paid for that. And that's one of the things to remember is someone's not paid. If you're I don't know, if you're working in the medical industry, your job is to convey the information beautifully and succinctly. It's not to be a designer, but we have the tools now so that investment in brand continues to grow investment in their brand because it's not being diluted. We've all been there when the case study for the brand looks amazing, the website's kind of a bit weird, then they get a PowerPoint and it's like in 3 brands ago. That's just an erosion of brand value. AI tools enable us to have conversations with our clients to go, okay, you're investing a lot in your brand. How do we grow that investment by safeguarding what you've done? So we're focused there with our clients.
Coming back to your commerciality point, right at the head of this,
yeah, and obviously some of that then frees up the clients to actually come back to us to go, okay, well, we now want to do a big campaign, or we now want to do something really exciting, because we've got our ground base. We're building our brand day to day. We'll come to you for the really exciting stuff, rather than, can you make us this new template that no one wants to make? And we're like, we shouldn't have to make, but also as an agency, we shouldn't be doing that for you. You should have the autonomy to make these things on brand that grow your brand, and then come to us and go, actually, business is going really well. We'd now like to go into a new market or a new territory. Or that's the kind of work that we work with our clients. How do you break into America, or how do Americans move into a US market, a EU market? That sort of stuff, as Kate mentioned, that'll always be done by human to human interaction. There's too much risk for an organization to put into, just punch it into a system and go, okay, fine. You need to trust the people that you're working with, and AI muddies that a little. Kate alluded to it.
Yeah,
we do have to be careful, and we do have to be very transparent with our clients to be like, we are using AI here, because also for many of our clients, particularly in the brand space, IP and ownership and all of that stuff is incredibly important, and obviously that is quite a sort of shift in sand at the moment, and no one wants to be in a scenario in 3 or 4 years time where brands have invested hundreds of thousands, millions, and gone, you don't have the IP for that.
And this is why when Zuckerberg says, you just need to send us an image and we'll do the rest, and you're like, do you think that's what branding is? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just an image, just go from there. And we know AI is a new thing, will just deteriorate, and how far away you'll end up from any. Oh my God, these extraordinarily expensive decades of brand building that companies have done, and they'll just throw it away. I think there's more risk than opportunities for business with AI, genuinely, in the marketing space.
Agreed.
I think it's enormous. It's almost like you have to be on the defensive of how do you navigate this really complicated environment that's coming.
But also, I think, to your point earlier on, I see the future being more pinpoint with regards to what are you saying, when and how, not more of it, because there's no space. There's no space to shoo your way in.
No one cares. Everyone is sick to death. Everyone is overwhelmed with content. Every brand is now an entertainer. Like, one of my team this morning was just saying, she says, I am so bored of opening the comment section on TikTok and just seeing all the brands piling in with their take on Gen Z responses. She said, I want to kill myself. I just want to close TikTok. It's so, get away. We have the urgent challenges we have around distribution models of marketing messages have just been absolutely just like dumpster fire, like set alight by Gen AI, and you're like, oh dear God. I mean, Gen AI customer service responses, community management done by Gen AI. God help us and save us. Like, dreadful. I mean, LinkedIn already is so frustrating, isn't it? You go on someone's post, you just see all these I
know, so depressing.
AI generated stuff. You're like, oh God, this is not making it better.
Particularly when you've crafted something so thoughtful. We've got a couple of questions coming in. If I make sure we've got time for these. So people are really enjoying the discussion, so thank you guys. We've got a question from Oliver. He's interested in how your processes and tactical innovations are making their way into your positioning when you're in terms of for new business and sales, and how you talk about it in that context rather than with existing clients. Are clients interested? He's asked, and is it now a central part of your positioning in new business?
I'm sure it's, Lois said, it's quite different for the two of us. From our side, does it come into our new business? Still not hugely. For us, the main thing is that what we're talking about is these brands are building commercial success, and that part of that brand may have been built with AI, but we're very clear with part of elements, pieces, but it's very small actually from a conceptual creative perspective, because obviously from a brand point of view, we're building long term. We're not building instantaneous amounts of content. We're building long term foundational guidelines for a business. So we're very clear with where that comes from. What we're using AI is to really give a sense to clients who can't visualize. That's one of the things for us in a branding space, which is amazing for AI, is, you know, some people can walk into a room and go, I can see how I would make this a room something amazing. And for other people, they're just like, it's just a room. And that's fine. That doesn't mean that you're not capable or creative. It's just you can't have that same vision. AI gives our designers the ability to communicate the vision much more successfully to people who are not probably creatively minded. So if you're talking to us, faster, but also to help them to understand actually investment is sensible here. Because it's not myself in a room going, imagine this, wouldn't this be great, this amazing thing. We can go, this is kind of how it would look and how it would come to life. And that person can go, I can see that benefit, I can see that value. So in that regards, from like a new business, i.e. activation of brands and continuing relationships and all of those parts of a new business conversation, AI is distinctly important. From the cold, someone's come to us completely cold, we're not talking about AI probably for a month or two, because actually they're buying us as human beings. But I imagine that's a flip for Kate, because she's invested significant amount of agency resource into building amazing AI-enabled tools for different client needs. The client needs are very different between the two of us, and therefore the conversation happens at different stages.
Yeah, I think just to say before we go to Kate, is that what you're saying about being able to visualize the ideas, you know, in pictures, and to get that sort of to really get that buy-in earlier. We're seeing that across all our clients. It's really super powerful, that aspect of it. I think the caution always is wanting that exact thing that you've put there generated by AI.
Isn't it? Because what we're talking about, how do I influence someone? How do I influence someone to say, buy this, buy what I'm saying? Now, the three of us now are talking, you know, we're all eloquent. We still won't fully understand each other talking here right now. Put visuals up, you get a bit closer. But the problems it then creates around, as you say, well, I wanted that, what you showed, and you're like, oh, God, that's not possible. Or hang-ups on like, but I didn't like that bit there. Oh my God, it's a mock-up. Oh God. But because it looks so real, people are like, oh, that's the work. Oh my God. It's like a whole new world of like, that we're trying to navigate now. That whole thing of how much do I show you as best as I can, because as I say, communication is really hard for all human beings, right? How much do I show you to make you feel reassured that you can trust me, but not so much that we end up getting into sort of negotiations on details that don't matter yet. It's fascinating. I mean, that's a whole masterclass from some sort of FBI negotiator, probably. Do you know what I mean? In terms of the balance of like, you know, influence. Anyway, positioning, yes. So we do talk about it. We went a bit, I'd say maybe a year, 18 months ago, we're talking about it more. It's now probably receded into sort of background thing. It's completely integrated across the business, so it's less standalone. Clients aren't, they like it, it's interesting, but that's absolutely not what they're buying us for. We've had feedback, on a very first pitch, I'm telling you about, Emma, where we were told that our Gen AI capabilities beat all the networks that are on the pitch list, but one of the networks had a better idea. I was like, and so it was thus. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. We've got the best Gen AI technology, but they just had a better creative idea. And whilst I was disappointed to lose the pitch, I was like, you know what? Praise be. You know, creativity is still sort of won. Human creativity is still won, which is great. So yes, we talk about it. It's there. I think it's more important, actually, what they like when they're impressed by it is just, they're like, please come and help me talk to people in my business about this, because I am under a lot of pressure, either to reduce headcount, to change ways of working, and actually to have a confident sort of advisor alongside me who can help me confidently, C-suite level, go, stop, it's not going to do that. No, you cannot get rid of that entire brand team, you know, etc. I think that's what they value.
Interesting. So it's something new, really. Yeah.
I think to that point is the issue with the snake oil thing. CEOs and people in the C-suite are very time poor, and often we've all done it when we're running our businesses. We'll be like, I've got to do that thing, and I'll just do a quick Google, and I land on a couple of pages, and the first thing you land on is no need for brand teams, marketing held, and obviously their first instance is like, well, perfect, that's what I want, I need it. Yeah. So they send those emails out, but the reality is, if you get to the bottom of that web page, which I did a couple of checks before it came on, most of them say sign up and we'll let you know when it exists. It's like, this isn't even a thing. You're just selling a concept of a thing that no one even built. Like, it's all just nonsense. But people are then having to go through this rigmarole internally of, oh, am I going to lose on my team? But I've still got to deliver the work and business as usual. But I've got to, those sort of challenges, they're the human things that we as an industry need to help people in businesses to go, we're going to take the load of doing some of this work, and there is some technology that can support you. But if you want to be successful, that's not losing your entire brand team or your entire marketing team and outsourcing it, because you're just going to have the same issues that you had before you had the marketing team. No one in control.
I was going to ask what your one message for CMOs would be, and I think you've already said it.
Well, the Klarna piece that we were chatting about, Emma, I wrote a piece of performance marketing on the Klarna walk back, so they went all on AI, they're hiring people back, etc. I think I'm hearing this from a lot of corporate clients of ours. They are getting unbelievable pressure from C-suite, make headcount cuts because of AI. And these people who are asking for it don't actually know what Gen AI is or how it affects it. They've read some stuff. And what it looks like to them is a fabulous cost-cutting exercise under the cover of like, not our fault, it's the AI. Come on, guys, technology happens, life changes. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I think what's going on is we're going through sort of an economic contraction cycle, as we do, and AI is being used as a really nice sort of like stick to beat people with. The concerns that I have, what I'm listening to my clients, is the clients then are struggling to push back at C-suite level because they are nervous if they try to have that conversation, that mediated conversation of like, look, we actually can't do, like, Gen AI can't do that. Why do you, it makes them look naive, as if they don't know what they're talking about. And so we're then in this weird thing where people then are going ahead, and I'm hearing this literally from big corporate clients, are making cuts because if they don't, it makes them look like they don't get AI. And so what we're now seeing is this, like, it's clusterfuck stuff. Like, people the damage that is going to happen. And I said in that piece, I was like, this is going to rot brands from the inside, because you are not taking branding seriously, you're marketing seriously. If you are becoming short-termist, if you're approaching it from a complete cost-cutting measure with technology you don't understand, you fast forward 2-3 years, there'll be such a dip in performance, it'll be endemic, and you almost won't have realized why it happened. And that's why I think it's a bigger risk, actually, an opportunity for marketers. I think it's very, very difficult to navigate.
I agree. I think in the space there's a lot of not many people have enough time to really understand it, but there are a lot of very strong views from those same people, and that's a tricky place to be.
A little bit of knowledge is a very dangerous thing.
Yeah,
I think I know we need to wrap up shortly, but I was going to say, I think that is what you just said there. Time is the issue. Everyone wants to move. 18 months, we've gone from no conversation to everyone having the conversation, but the reality is we're not had enough fiscal years move round where businesses can go, I'm seeing the benefit or not seeing the benefit. Ultimately, if businesses are successful with AI tools, then everyone will port towards their model. If they start to see a loss because of the AI risk, then there'll be a change. But AI is moving, and also our market is trying to move so quickly that there's not enough fiscal years going around that we can actually point to of this is successful or not. Traditionally, we would have had a couple of years with a couple of test dummies out there going, well, let's see what they do, let's see how it goes, and ultimately then the rest of the industry moves towards the success or failure model, but we're not. Everyone's just suddenly gone, let's put all our eggs into the basket, and because it's too late, we've got to get on the bandwagon, otherwise we're going to be left behind. And I honestly don't think you are. You do need to be using AI, and you do need to be progressing, but you need to be using it tactically for your own business, not copying what your next door neighbor business is doing, because your business will not be the same even if you're in the same product set. You need to find out why and where you're using AI for successful business for yourself. And that people need to take a breather and just pause, look, learn, try some stuff in a sandbox, and then come to market with stuff.
And just before we finish, as I'm finished, so Richard's question, just to the provenance of Gen AI images. So this is one of the great things actually about using Gen AI image video in a brand context, is what you're doing is you're training the LLM specifically, on your brand. So the only known victim from a legal perspective of said replication is the brand itself. So you basically have this controlled environment. Now we do work for a big finance firm. They and we use imagery, coach imagery across the different markets. They have hand models very specifically for all of their images. So holding a credit card in a certain way, it's a very certain look that they have. We train on those hand models that they've already purchased all the licensing for. Do you know what I mean? So everything that we've trained it on is licensed. So you're actually in a highly low risk position, and everything that's being shown isn't going to affect anyone else's IP. You know, if you put a car on a road, the road is often generic. And so again, it's not owned by anyone. It is the average of all roads that the LMM has created for you. So it's from a legal perspective, that's one of the least risky spaces we've come across from all the different things we've done within Gen AI products.
Oh, that's perfect. Thanks, Kate. And I think there is a lot of talk about the opposite. So it's really great to know how you can do that safely. And Joe, I know you got a question as well, but I'm going to come back to you separately, just in the comments, because we are really over time. Luke and Kate, thank you hugely. There's been so many really lovely comments in the chat here about people have really valued this conversation. So thank you for being so candid and sharing your experiences. Massively appreciate it. Thank you everyone for watching. If this session has sparked any new thinking or raised more questions about what you should do next with AI, my team at Spark is set up exactly to help you build on that momentum, particularly our AI for Leaders course, which really takes you through the journey that Kate and Luke have touched on here about identifying what makes you unique and then how AI can support that, and then develop your own unique roadmap from there. So I'll pop a link to that in the comments. So the webinar will be available to watch again and catch up here. It will also be on YouTube. I'll pop out an email to everyone that's registered, so you got the link to watch it in your own time, or forward it on to your colleagues. So thank you so much again, Kate and Luke, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks for having us, Emma.
Pleasure.
Cheers. Bye.